To memorialize is defined as to preserve the memory of or commemorate. As humans, we like to remember and honor those who lost their lives in a tragic way, such as the Holocaust. Why do we do this? Why would anyone want to be reminded of such a horrific time in history? In the words of Elie Wiesel, without memory, there is no culture. Without memory, there would be no civilization, no society, no future. We memorialize to learn, to appreciate, and to prevent the repetition of similar events in the future. The Holocaust, a genocide led by Adolf Hitler that resulted in the death of about 6 million Jews and affected the entire world, didn't have a memorial built until 60 years after it happened. You would think a historical event with such a massive impact on the world would be remembered sooner than that. The Holocaust is a horrific part of our past and also a controversial one. We as a human race did not want to be reminded of what happened in Germany so many years ago, of how millions of people were cooped up in concentration camps like animals and executed all because of their religion. I read a newspaper article from 1999 about the approval of a Berlin Holocaust memorial, and this particular quote stood out to me. "We are not building this monument solely for the Jews. We are building it for ourselves. It will help us confront a chapter of our history." This was spoken by a member of parliament at the time. This memorial needed to be built. It deserved to be built, not only for those who lost their lives, but to remind future generations that the Holocaust did happen. It was real, and it was horrible, and we can't allow something like that to happen again. Another famous historical memorial is the Vimy Ridge Memorial in France. It was designed by Toronto sculptor Walter S. Allward to commemorate Canada's participation in the First World War. It is placed on the highest point of Vimy Ridge, which was the setting of a major battle of World War I. Many Canadians lost their lives, 3,598 to be exact, but overall we were victorious over Germany. This battle was so important for Canadians because it was the first time all 4 Canadian divisions fought together as one unified force, and it really boosted our morale. Construction of the memorial began in 1925 and was completed in 1936. This memorial was built much faster than the Holocaust Memorial, maybe because it was not an event to be ashamed of? The plaque on the monument reads, "To the valor of their countrymen in the Great War and in memory of their 60,000 dead, this monument is raised by the people of Canada." The monument is comprised of 2 large stones with soldiers perched on the ridges and a woman's figure said to be the spirit of Canada, mourning her fallen sons. This war memorial provided a place to mourn the dead and also a place to honor them and the great sacrifices they made. It has a very different meaning than the Holocaust Memorial, which is more to provide a place to reflect on the horrors of the past as well as remember the victims. Not all memorials come in the form of a statue made from stone. Some are much smaller with just as strong of a meaning. Every Remembrance Day, Canadians wear a poppy on their chest as a symbol of a remembrance for those who lost their lives in battle. The reason a poppy was chosen comes from the poem by John McCrae called In Flanders Fields. McCrae was a surgeon in the First World War, and it is said that he wrote the poem while sitting on the back step of an ambulance near his medical post. Poppies grew in between the crosses that marked the burial sites for many soldiers who lost their lives during the Battle of Ypres, one of which was McCrae's close friends. The poem was a personal way to memorialize his friend and all of the soldiers he treated and lost during his time overseas, but it turned into something so much bigger than that. The poppy was first adapted as a symbol of remembrance by Moyna Michael in the last year of the war, who was a member of the American Overseas YMCA. Michael read McCrae's poem and later stated, "In a high moment of white resolve, I pledge to keep the faith and always to wear a red poppy of Flanders Fields as a sign of remembrance and the emblem of keeping the faith with all who have died." She led a campaign in 1920 to have the poppy recognized as the official symbol of remembrance by the American Legion and was successful. Another organization, the American and French Children's League, inspired by both McCrae and Michael, sold cloth copies of the flower to donate money to re-establish war-devastated areas in Europe. Canada also adopted the poppy as a symbol of remembrance, and the first Poppy Day occurred on November 11, 1921, in Canada and the United States. The poppy is a symbol that still has just as strong of a meaning today as it did when the tradition first started. It is a way to individually memorialize all of those who risked their lives for our safety and also helps to raise money to support them in various ways. Memorialization of great loss is necessary to move forward. In the words of Joseph Joubert, monuments are the grappling irons that bind one generation to another. They provide a place to feel close to loved ones that were lost. I think they are more built for the family and friends and not for those that died. Memorials are not for the dead. They are for those who are left behind.
Memorialization fills a vital role for those mourning the loss of a loved one and encompasses all the aspects of honoring a life that has been lived. Memorialization services, visitations, placement in a cemetery, creating a memorial marker or monument, and any other means of paying tribute to our loved ones are all considered to be part of the process of memorialization and are vitally important. Since the dawn of time, human beings have been participating in rituals, services, and other activities to honor and remember loved ones who have died. These traditions of memorialization vary from culture to culture and have evolved over time. Today, people are remembered in numerous ways, from public memorials and candlelight vigils to tributes paid virtually via social media after they die, and human rights. It encourages civic engagement and education programs to engage the wider community in a dialogue about the past and promote a discussion of a peaceful future based on coexistence. Memorialization also functions by advancing educational purposes, including retelling of history for future generations and facilitating historic preservation of a specific era in a country or community's history. With the increase of violence in recent years, the world has recognized memorialization of victims of terrorism and terrorist type of events as a critical component of the healing process for victims, their families, and the general public. Some examples of some great monuments and memorials built after terrorist attacks around the world are the following. The Oklahoma City National Memorial, built in October 9, 1997, honors the victims, survivors, rescuers, and all who were affected by the Oklahoma City bombing of April 19, 1995. The outdoor symbolic memorial, designed by Butzer Design Partnership, is a place of quiet reflection. It is located in downtown Oklahoma City, where the Murrah Federal Building once stood, as well as the surrounding area devastated by the attack. The memorial site encompasses 8 symbolic elements. It starts with the Gates of Time, which are monumental twin gates, which represent the moment that the city of Oklahoma was forever changed, and the hope that came from the horror in the moments and days following the bombing. The reflecting pool occupies what was once the Northwest 5th Street. Here, a shallow depth of gently flowing water helps soothe wounds, and calming sounds provide a peaceful setting for quiet thoughts. The field of empty chairs represents the lives taken on April 19, 1995. The 168 chairs stand in 9 rows to represent each floor of the building, and each chair bears the name of someone killed on that floor. 19 smaller chairs are used to represent the children who died on that day. The survival wall, located on the east end of the memorial, are the only remaining walls from the Murrah building. These walls are a reminder of those who survived the terrorist attacks and many with the serious injuries. Today, more than 600 names are inscribed on salvaged pieces of granite from the Murrah building lobby. The survivor tree, an American elm that withstood the full force of the attack. And years later, it continues to stand as a living symbol of resilience. The circular promontory surrounding of the tree offers a place for gathering and viewing of the memorial. The Rescuers Orchard represents the eternal gratitude to the thousands of rescuers and volunteers who helped during the attack. The children's area is made up of expressions of encouragement and love sent from children around the country and the world. The last symbolic element is the fence, which was first installed to protect the site of the Murrah building, but it has now become a place where people can leave tokens of love and hope. The World Trade Center Memorial, or better known as Ground Zero, occupies 8 of the 16 acres at the World Trade Center. The memorial is a tribute to the past and a place of hope for the future. It commemorates the lives of the 265 people on the 4 planes, and the 2,606 lives lost at the World Trade Center towers and the surrounding areas. The memorial design was selected from a global design competition that included more than 5,200 entries from 63 different nations. Architect Michael Arad and landscape architect Peter Walker created twin reflecting pools, each nearly an acre in size, featuring the largest man-made waterfalls in North America. The pools sit within the footprints where the Twin Towers stood. The names of every person who died in the 2001 and 1993 attacks are inscribed into bronze panels edging the memorial pools, a powerful reminder of the largest loss of life resulting from a foreign attack on North American soil and the greatest single loss of rescue personnel in American history. The Pentagon Memorial opened to the public on September 11, 2008, 7 years after a plane hijacked by terrorists crashed into the Pentagon and killed 189 people on board and in the building. It was designed and constructed by architects Julia Beckham and Keith Carson, and engineered by Buro Happold. The site is dominated by 184 benches, each honoring a victim of the crash, excluding the 5 hijackers. The benches are made of stainless steel and inlaid granite. Each bench is inscribed with the victim's name on the end and arches over a shallow reflecting pool of water lit from below. If more than one family member died in the crash, the name of each family member is inscribed in the pool as well as on their individual bench. The memorial benches are arranged facing opposite directions along the flight path of the doomed plane. The architectural design aims to unify victims without regard to their status as men or women, military or civilian, rich or poor. The victims of the September 11 attack on the Pentagon are also honored by the Pentagon-shaped memorial located in the section of the victims' graves at the Arlington National Cemetery. The Atocha Station Memorial is a memorial monument located at Atocha Station in Madrid, Spain. It commemorates the 191 victims of the March 11, 2004 Madrid train bombings. The monument consists of 2 parts, the glass cylinder and the underground presentation room. Both parts are linked together by a round window. Inside the glass cylinder, spontaneous expressions of sorrow from citizens were engraved into a transparent plastic film. The glass design allows the sun to penetrate and illuminate these words. The July 7th memorial comprises of 52 steel pillars, collectively representing each of the 52 victims of the 2005 London bombings. The steel pillars are grouped together in 4 interlinking clusters reflecting the 4 locations of the incident. Visitors can walk around and through the memorial, reading inscriptions marking the date, time, and locations of the bombings placed on each pillar as they pass. On the far eastern end of the memorial, there is another stainless steel plaque listing all the names of the victims.
Memorializing a loved one is often a very personal and endearing way to remember someone. It may be the traditional tombstone with personal messages engraved on the stone, or being cremated and held within a decorative urn. However, there are also many other ways to remember a loved one. People want to fulfill their loved one's wishes after they pass away. Some of these wishes may be to have their ashes scattered in an important place, such as their home, a lake, forest, or even a public place. There are also sculptures and monuments built to honor a loved one. People can hold candlelight ceremonies or release balloons into the sky to honor someone in heaven. Certain fireworks services allow ashes to be made into the fireworks to create a show for the loved one's family and friends. When driving on busy highways, many of us have probably noticed highways being dedicated to certain people, usually them being police officers. Although these are large ways to memorialize someone and mostly expensive, there are many other options. Trees can be planted for a loved one, as well as having a name engraved into a bench or a brick on a building. Memorialization is also being represented in life events such as weddings. I know someone that had lost their infant daughter, and the infant's name was stitched into the wedding dress. Just recently, a member of my community was killed in a car accident. He was an honorable firefighter for his town for many years. A memorial service was held in his name, and many firefighters around Ontario came to honor him and his family. Additionally, he had just lost his wife 2 weeks prior due to an asthma attack. It is indescribable on how to manage a memorial for a family that lost an infant due to a miscarriage or stillbirth. As for other memorial services, there are many dedicated to the loss of an infant. Families are able to send information about their child to a company that will name a star after that child. They will also include the coordinates of the star so the family could locate it. I think this is a wonderful way to remember a lost child as it's very unique and thoughtful. There is also a non-profit organization called Angel Gowns, which is run by an NICU nurse. Her company creates dresses for infants that have passed using donated wedding dresses. This is a very special and different way to commemorate an infant loss. Additionally, families can create memory boxes, which could contain pictures, toys, outfits, and the hospital ID bracelet. In many hospitals, families can spend time with the infant, and pictures can be done as well, which is another way to remember the infant. My family enjoys traveling to Muskoka every summer, and we spend our time in Huntsville. A few years ago, we discovered this memorial park hidden away in the forest. This park is known as Dyer Memorial Park, and here's the story behind it. Clifton Dyer was a lawyer from Detroit, and his wife was Betsy Brown. They spent their honeymoon in 1916 in Muskoka. They returned in 1936, where they spent many summers afterwards together in their cabin by the river. Betsy passed away in 1956. Clifton created this huge stone tower to memorialize her and placed her ashes at the top. It took 1 year to complete this structure and 2 more years to clear and landscape the grounds area. In 1959, Clifton passed away and his ashes were placed beside his wife's in the tower. The monument faces the river and is on the same land as their cabin. However, the cabin is not there anymore. A small river runs through this park, and there are many walking trails surrounding the area. The park is now maintained by the town of Huntsville in order to memorialize Clifton and Betsy. Honestly, this is the sweetest way to remember someone. Here are some unique stories of how people memorialize their loved ones. In 1989, an airplane flying from the Republic of Congo to Paris was blown up over the Sahara Desert. All 156 passengers and 14 crew members were killed instantly. 20 years later, friends and families of the victims from all over the world came to memorialize their loved ones. A life-size silhouette of the airplane was created using dark-colored stones, which was surrounded by 170 broken mirrors, each representing a victim's life. The right wing of the plane has been placed upright, and a plaque has been attached which names all of the victims on the plane. The memorial can be seen from overhead planes as they fly over the desert. Also, on Google, people can search the coordinates for this memorial, and it can be seen that way too. A 70-year-old farmer from England lost his wife 20 years prior. A few years afterwards, he planted 6,000 oak trees on a 6-acre field near his house. After 15 years pass, the trees have grown and a heart-shaped meadow is visible. The heart is 1 acre large and points towards his wife's hometown. This was his way in remembering his wife. In Illinois, a 96-year-old man named Fred wrote a song about his wife, Lorraine. Fred and Lorraine were together for almost 75 years until she passed away that year. A radio station was holding a contest for singer and songwriters, and Fred decided to submit his song into the contest. His song won and was professionally recorded, titled as "Oh Sweet Lorraine." This song will be Fred's way to remember his beloved wife.
In the late 90s, a few individual online memorials started appearing on the internet. Most were websites created in response to the death of a person who was in the public eye, rather than someone from the general public. One example is the collective memorial website findagrave.com. This website focused on publishing memorial information about famous celebrities. Also during the late 90s, newspapers and funeral homes began contributing obituaries to permanent online databases, such as legacy.com. The use of online memorials began to grow. Memorials for public events also began to appear online, which allowed for a collective response to events that caused widespread grief. A major online memorial affecting several thousand people is the National September 11 Memorial and Museum. Online memorials allow participation in the grieving process from a distance and at any time of the day or night. They provide a communication outlet for continued grieving when more formal events have ended. Grievers can include extensive content such as stories, discussions, photos, and videos. Some sociologists believe that public displays of grief are important for emotional recovery from bereavement. The online memorials also give the bereaved the ability to pull up the page for the deceased and go through the comments or pictures when they are having a particularly difficult time and want to remember shared memories. Continuing bonds and expressing feelings can be considered therapeutic to the bereaved. In the 2000s, with the development of social media platforms and simplified website creation software, the numbers of individual online memorials increased rapidly. Our lives are increasingly being monitored on social media. We're inclined to share our life's biggest moments, but what happens to our social media accounts when we die? Facebook has addressed this issue by memorializing accounts that other users report as belonging to a deceased individual. The policy used to allow a 30-day period of memorialization of the account before it was deleted forever. But after the Virginia Tech massacre, a school shooting resulting in 32 deaths in April 2007, friends and family of those killed protested Facebook's 30-day memorialization policy, and in response, Facebook changed its policy to indefinitely memorialize users who had died instead of deleting the counts after 30 days. Facebook memorialization is a place for friends and family of the deceased to gather and share memories after a person has died. Some key features of memorialized accounts include the following. The word remembering will be shown next to the person's name on their profile. Friends can still post and share memories on the timeline. Friends can also view and comment on content the person has shared. Also, the memorialized profile won't show up in public spaces, such as suggestions for people to friend, in advertisements, or in birthday reminders. Most of the time, people are using social media not for the dead, but for the living. It's a comfort thing, still having life in the account even after someone has died. Sharing helps people process their feelings and make sense of what's happening around them, so it's not an unhealthy practice. It's just a new way of doing what we've always done to process emotion. Some people take the memorialization of their account one step further and set up a dead social account. Dead Social is a website used to prepare for your digital death by building your digital legacy. The goal is to provide the best tools and support for those who want to bring their digital lives to a managed and controlled ending. Over the last 10 to 20 years, death, grief, and remembrance has changed. Dead Social believes that using technology and utilizing the internet can help break down the taboo of death, and in doing so help those live better lives. Dead Social allows users to create a series of private messages, including text, images, and video. These messages are saved and only send to the allocated Dead Social, Facebook, or Twitter profiles once the user has died. This allows users to release unseen photos, create discussion, and say goodbye in their own personal way after they have died. For most people, the concept of preparing for death digitally and leaving farewell messages for friends and family on social media sites may seem quite bizarre. However, the average internet user spends around 23 hours a week online. Therefore, it is logical for most to get that chance to say goodbye to digital social groups. The sentimental value of our digital assets is increasing. Therefore, it is important that these assets can be remembered and accessed by loved ones. There seems to be a universal human need to create memorials for departed loved ones. It is a way for us to say goodbye, it helps the grieving process, and gives us closure to our loss. It gives us comfort to be able to reflect on the joy the loved one brought us during their life, and it helps us with the healing process. It is also a way for us to create a legacy that the lost beloved has left us. Memorial tributes allow us to share our memories with other bereaved loved ones, and memorial products keep alive the memories of the departed long after they have gone. A memorial can be something as elegant and elaborate as a monument that people travel the world to see, but not everyone needs to build a grand statue or landmark building. A memorial can be something as humble and simple as a headstone or an urn. It can be as easy as singing the departed's favorite song, writing a poem, or planting a flower or tree in their honor. In more recent times, digital memorialization has become more popular as social media platforms are on the rise. Overall, it is clear that there are several ways to memorialize someone. Not every memorial is the same, and it shouldn't be. The memorial is there to remind us of the unique gifts and qualities of that person. There is no right or wrong way to participate in memorialization.